In jiu-jitsu, what's the hardest belt to get to?
It's a white belt, man. It's really because just getting started. If you don't walk through that door, you will not achieve anything.
Yes.
It's not the black belt, it's getting that white belt and then showing up
So
every
you
day.
guys gotta show up every day. You gotta make sure you have a white belt mentality. You want the black belt eventually? Always have a white belt mentality that you can learn more, learn more, learn more. And if you do that in business, if you do that in marriage, if you do that in finances, if you do that with your physical health, you will always have more than enough. You'll always find a solution to be there. But the moment you act like a black belt mentality, you know it all and have it all, is where the moment life is gonna humble you, pull you back and say, you don't. So if you catch yourself constantly running into a wall, it could just be that you have that black belt mentality, you know everything, have everything, and life is trying to remind you, slow down.
Hey guys, welcome back. We have the amazing Gabe Mendez with us today. We are so excited to get to know Gabe and find out a little bit more about himself and his business. So Gabe, thank you so much for joining us today.
We're excited.
It's a pleasure and it's an honor.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, absolutely.
You guys need to pay attention. This guy brings fire at all times. I'm sure you're gonna do it today.
Let's go,
it's
man.
gonna be good
My voice is a little shot, but we're gonna get there.
It's
Yeah.
all good. It's good to kind of hear your side of the story today. That's what we want to get to. So maybe tell us a little bit about you. How did you start? Who is Gabe Mendez?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this question a lot, because, and I'll make it quick because it's important for a lot of people, you guys out there, to understand what you see on social media with a lot of us and like what a lot of people think they see and what they know are two different things. I'll give you a quick background about like personally and a little background professionally, so that this way we're kind of caught up.
Sure.
But personally speaking, my family's all from Mexico. So my mother's from Zacatecas, my dad's from Oaxaca, which are like small little pueblos down in Mexico. And my mom's born in TJ, right, the neighboring city to San Diego. So I'm technically first generation here in San Diego. Family crossed over when my mother was 1.
Wow.
That whole story happened. Parents got divorced at 5, got raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So, that whole broken home thing, I think it's, growing up, I learned that's kind of normal. A lot of people have some sort of story in the background. So
Absolutely.
I love that the more we talk about it, the more comfortable people get talking about it. Because for a long time when I was growing up, it was one of those things that you didn't talk about. Parents are divorced, you don't talk about it. Parents fight, you don't talk about those things. But now everyone can relate to it, and so it empowers people. So that was kind of like my background getting into here in San Diego. But growing up, we grew up really poor, 1-bedroom apartment, didn't have a lot. And I joke around about this, but it's true, is, when you grow up poor, you don't know how poor you are until you get around people who have money. Until you get around people who have their own bedroom and have their new clothes every single school year. And that's what happened to us. We grew up in San Diego in a poor area. And yes, those exist here in San Diego. But it wasn't until I went to this place called Bonita, which is also East Chula Vista, where people had money. And I remember going over to someone's house, they had their own bedroom. I'm like, oh, you have your own bedroom. And this is when their first PlayStation came out. And I remember like, oh, you have your own PlayStation. And I still remember the game that he had, which was Crash Bandicoot. Don't ask me how to remember that, man. It was imprinted in my mind. Like,
Your
right?
story right there.
But 13 or 14, this guy has his own PlayStation. And I remember going home to mom, I'm like,
So
oh,
even that was big, just a room, but a PlayStation, like you were seeing a different lifestyle for the first time, it seems like.
And that's probably what imprinted in my mind, was being exposed to something for the first time. Because where I grew up in, it was just 1 bedroom. We had the same kind of food every single night, which is noodles and sauce, rarely any kind of meat. And that was our normal. But going over to this new place, this new environment, it was like that Aladdin movie, where Jasmine and Aladdin, she jumps in the carpet, it's like a whole new world. And that's literally what I felt like in that time. It was just like that. And I remember going home and talking to mom and saying, hey mom, oh my gosh, I just came back from his house. He has his own room and blah, blah, blah. And I was just excited to share. But what I didn't realize in that moment was I was breaking her on the inside, because she felt she couldn't provide that to us. So years that went by, she finally buys us her own home in 2005. I ended up getting my own bedroom. 2 years later, we ended up losing that house to predatory lending. I remember the sheriff's knocking on the door, and that whole situation happened. And we ended up going back.
I'm sorry, what year was that?
2005, she bought the house.
Yeah.
2007, 7-ish, going into 8, we ended up losing it.
Wow.
So 2 years, it was like the best years of my childhood life. This is where the first time I had friends over, the first time we had like birthdays and cousins, the first time cousins came over and slept over. And that was like the first time my experience to all that was. And then 2 years later, it was taken away. But being not coming from a privileged background, it didn't affect me much, because it wasn't a standard of my life. It was just a moment in time. And so it never really broke me, but it wasn't until later when I became of age, like 2013-ish, when I started working in the real estate space, that I understood what happened at that time. But to backtrack a little bit, in 2008, when we ended up losing the home, I ended up going back to our uncle's house. I slept in a garage on a couch for a year. Then grandma had extra space for us. We ended up sleeping at her house. I slept on a futon for the next 2 or 3 years until my mom financially rebuilt us and got us back to that place. 2011 and 12, this is where I started my professional career. I got into the Department of Corrections. I first started as an administrative assistant. I wanted to work as a correctional officer. I applied for CHP. I ended up breaking my ankle during the academy. And this is around the time where Arnold Schwarzenegger was in office. He did statewide budget cuts, so my position got cut and a bunch of other positions got cut. So as I'm healing on the couch for 6 months, my ankle's broken, I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. Multi-level marketing slips in the picture in 2012. And this is where I get introduced to like shake products and losing weight and this is really important because it doesn't matter if you end up taking the path of entrepreneurship and you go into this path of working for yourself and building a business or some sort of self-employment opportunity, you first have to work on your mind. And I see so many people in business today that think they're going to do these big things and have these major ambitions. And I want to pivot for a quick second, that's okay with you?
Yeah.
And I want to use the analogy of a smartphone, right? We can have an iPhone 15, 16, 17, the new one that's going to get ready to come out. And every so often, updates happen to the phone, right? Where you have to update the software so the hardware can operate. But what I learned was in business, being around so many people for the last 10 years as an entrepreneur, agent, having a team, scaling, investing, is that when agents and people come into this industry, they come into it with the mentality of an iPhone 16, so they they look nice, the hardware, the exterior is great. But their iOS software is like iOS 1, iOS 2. And what happens with our cell phone when we don't update the software? It malfunctions, it glitches, it gets hot, it starts to shut down. The hardware doesn't operate optimally because the software isn't updated. Same thing happens when you get into business. If you don't update the software, you don't update how you think, how you respond, your leadership, you don't update those things, the outerwear doesn't matter, the hardware doesn't matter. And so when I got introduced to multi-level marketing, they did an amazing job at shifting the way that I thought. They championed me every single time I brought a new customer in. They supported me every single time I helped someone lose weight on that weight loss journey. And they opened my mind to leverage, into leadership, into opportunity, things that were never presented to me in this 9-to-5 job.
Were you open-minded to the opportunity?
I was open-minded.
Yeah.
I was ready to receive it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you asked that question because another thought comes to mind, which is the teacher appears when the student is ready.
Yeah.
The teacher appears when the student is ready. So many of us want to come into this gun-ho, but we lose that humility factor of going under someone else's leadership. Remember, the only way that you can ever be a great leader is by being led by a great leader. You want to run a high-level business and have amazing employees who are willing to stick with you through thick and thin. You first must be a great employee to a good business and ride with that leader through thick and thin. You are going to attract who you are. You're not going to attract what you say. You're not going to attract what you want. You attract who you are. And I've been so blessed now at ROA here, and we'll get to that in a moment.
Sure.
But I've been so blessed to be here because I've had to work on myself internally. The only way I can be around people like you who are so incredible parents, and we were just talking offline about your kids and everything like that, to have that ability to be here in your presence, in my opinion, to be able to be working alongside you, didn't come by chance and accident. It came because I had to work on something internally that was able to attract us to Daniel Real Estate Group, who had the relationship with you. But had I not updated my software, I wouldn't have been the person, the capability, the leader to be here today. So I say all that because as I'm going through multi-level marketing, they updated the software first. I started thinking, I was willing to accept the leadership, I was willing to go under training, and that then led me to a position where I then found real estate, which was another pivotal point. My buddy asked me to be his TC and assistant. He said, I want you to come here, work with me for a couple of years because you're selling shakes and you're doing nothing during the day. And this is where the whole full circle moment happens. I'm sitting there, I go get some disclosures signed, his client's crying. I come back to the office and I say, bro, what's going on? Why are all of your clients upset, mad, and this one is crying? It's 2012, 2013, what's going on? And he told me that everyone's losing their home. And I asked him, how is that happening? He told me the whole story about how predatory lending happened. People got bad loans. They didn't understand what they were signing. And that was when the light bulb went off. I said, oh, I think that's what happened to my mom. So I went home, had a conversation. I'm like, did this happen to you 7, 8 years ago? And she's like, yes. And I remember fighting with her, arguing with her, mad and upset. Why didn't you tell me that this was happening to you? And she said one thing. She's like, son, I'm going to tell you something. When you become a parent, one thing becomes obvious. Your main responsibility as a parent is to make sure that your kids always feel safe and protected. She's like, and so I remember just breaking down
This
crying.
sounds like you have an amazing mom.
Yeah.
Dude, and family to support you guys on your downside too.
Brother, to have someone, I look back now and I think to myself, I see all these stories on Instagram and TikTok, and this isn't to talk badly about anyone, this is just to state what I see, okay? I see stories of fathers who aren't present, mothers who aren't present, mothers who get cheated on and divorced and they're raising kids on their own. They go and then they're like, you know what, I'm still young, I'm gonna live my life, and to each their own, right? You have to go down your own journey. And they remarry, they bring men around their kids, etc., and that never happened to me. My mom never did that. She never brought men around us. She didn't travel, she didn't club, she didn't party. Instead, she ended up getting 2 more jobs, supporting us and making sure that we never felt we were without. And when I got old enough to recognize the sacrifice that she did, it shifted something inside of my heart. And I thought to myself, that's who I want to be. And again, back to my point, you attract who you are. And now developing as an adult and as a man, going into this whole season of leadership in business, I told myself, this is who I want to be. This is the type of leader that I want to be. I want to be someone who leads from the heart, who pours in. And so shout out to mom. Shout out to the sacrifices you did. Shout out to all the moms who are out there. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, you might be in a season by yourself where you're a single mother. It looks like there's no outlet. Your kids may seem ungrateful in this season, but I promise you, if you love them unconditionally, you show up every single day for them, one thing will happen for sure. God will get a hold of their heart and he will shift them back. And one day they'll look back at everything you did and they will repay it to you. I am that testimony. I paid my mom back. I ended up helping her get a home, paid off all of her debt. And we have an amazing relationship now that unlike any other, and it made me the man that I am today.
Hey, you might not realize this, you might not look at it like it, but we have a 28-year-old daughter. And when she was growing up, hard-headed, she didn't want to listen to any of our advice. And guess what? Now she has 2 kids. She's like, it
calls
all
me every day.
makes sense to me now.
Yeah.
It all makes sense, you know? And so, we have 4 kids ourselves. A 21-year-old daughter, she definitely listens to us, but she still wants to be her own person, but she also starting to realize, mature that, mom and dad actually have a lot of great advice. And then you have the 15-year-old, he'll listen to us, but we're just his parents. He doesn't see it as much. I think it comes with age and experience, right? Yeah. As I get older, I become more worried about my kids.
Yes.
Yes. I have less time on this planet than I did as a kid, even though we really don't know our time, right? But just things are so much more valuable to me now. Time is precious to me. So I love that, your mom is first, but she also made you guys first. And I love also in your downtime, you were able to rely on your family, her mom, your grandmother, to take you guys in for as long. I mean, family is so important, right?
So family comes in different ways. Family, I heard a saying, and I don't know if I agree with it fully, but it says, you're born into the family, you can't choose the family you have, but then you also develop family, through the relationships over time too, right? So not all family is blood related.
Yeah.
And so, but luckily we had a blood related family who was there to support us. And seeing that, I'm glad I went through everything I went through, all the troubles and everything I went through, because it made me the character I am today. At the same time, I wish for other people that they didn't have to learn the hard way, that they would learn from other people's mistakes, that they would watch a video like this and say, there's wisdom being shared. Let me really listen and lean in and take from this what I can and believe it to be true. And the one way that I'll tell you that what advice you should listen to or not, this is how I discern between what I should and shouldn't listen to, is I rely heavily on, I'm a man of faith, and the word says one thing. It says you judge a tree by the fruits. Judge a tree by the fruits that it have. A good tree will bear good fruits. A bad tree will bear bad fruits. And if you want to know what advice you should take, then look at the tree and the fruits that are around it. Look at the people and the fruits that are around it. And if you see good things coming from that, that's a tree you should eat from. And this is why when they asked me, do you want to be on this podcast? I said 100%. Whatever I could do to be around this tree and grab this kind of fruit, I want to be part of it. And I've always remained humble in that sense of I want to be a student first. So I hope you guys listen to this podcast and subscribe and stay on this channel, because you're going to get these type of conversations with good trees that produce good fruit, that if you take them and you bite from them, you will learn something valuable. So yeah, absolutely.
So one thing that, you know, we always tell people is you become the people you're surrounded by. And so, you know, that's why we wanted to create this community, this YouTube channel, so people can learn and really see everyone's kind of culture, value, and actually like your past, right? Like everybody sees things on social media, thinks everything was like handed or lucky. We hear that all the time. But no one really sees the story behind it. And it's so funny because I grew up with a single mom. I mean, she was married to my stepdad. They got divorced, but we lived in a 1-bedroom, just renting a room from somebody, me, my sister, my mom. And then we got pregnant at 14, had a baby at 15, and we couldn't live together because obviously we were young. So we had my daughter in there with us too. So coming from a place of like scarcity and hardship, you really like find like your purpose early, I feel. I did the multi-level marketing, got a lot of great strengths from that I didn't realize until now that I look back like, oh, I did that because of this.
What a blessing that was.
Isn't that crazy?
What a blessing that was. Because when she was doing it, you know, I always had her back, and she's always been a go-getter. Go for it. So, she, you know, you were with Mary Kay for a while. But in the back of my head, I was thinking, what a waste of time, though. They give you a car and give you a prize, and it's really, you know, not that much. When you think about it, you're leasing a car for a couple $100. Looking back at it now, that helped make her who she is today. It forced her to grow. It forced her to do things she was extremely comfortable with, to grow, you know, in that business. Some things that a lot of people aren't willing to do. And it did teach you, had some of the best training out there, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was like when I was starting to learn how to lead. I was building women up, and I wasn't a girly girl, so like to do skincare and makeup was like not me, but it was the whole concept behind uplifting people, teaching them, you know, certain skills, personal development, leadership, all that stuff came from that multi-level marketing. And I didn't realize what that was doing for me up until now. And I look back at all the businesses that I took part in and the skills that I learned to be able to lead where I am today, right? And so I love that that was something of your history too, because like I tell people all the time, and when he got into real estate, I'm like, real estate's a mindset game. It's not a sales game. It is 80% mindset on how much you believe in yourself, burning the boat, and really feeding your mind with all these things, because it's a hard business. I tell my clients, I'm a therapist, right? And in order to be able to provide for our clients, our family, and everything else, you have to update your software. You have to have the proper mindset to like really
talk yourself through.
Yeah.
You have to be able to talk yourself through these tough
and the
times.
business is like 20% of it, right?
Can I have a question to you both?
Yeah, please.
Gabe, because I'm, 4 years in this business, and when I look at people like you and Rose, you guys just seem like your software is always updated, and I have moments where I got this, and then I have moments where that self-doubt creeps in. It's pretty consistent, I have really good times, and then times where I'm like, man, is this for me, and the one thing is I just keep pushing through, and through that I see success in surrounding myself through the right people. It's a great, you have to be around the right people, right? So do you ever have any challenges with that, or maybe speak to some people that might have some challenge and give them that advice?
So I would like for both of us to answer the question, because we both have an MLM background, and I do think it's a prerequisite for life. I do believe everyone out there If you have children, put them in MLM or force them in some sort of MLM environment, because it's going to get them out of that shell, get them to think differently, speak differently, and have a bigger vision for that. But when it comes to like having the self-doubt all the time, bro, I'm telling you right now, it's almost every day. It's every day I have to convince myself. There's moments in time where I feel better than most.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there's more moments in time where I don't. It's more prominent in my life that I don't feel like doing something, I don't feel like showing up, I don't feel like giving all, I'm doubting myself, am I sure, I'm insecure. There's more of that in my life right now than there is I'm on the right track. There's just those moments where I pick my head up, I breathe, and I get reassured that I'm on the right place, that makes all the struggle worth it, and say, I'm at the right place at the right time, I did the right things, okay, let's keep going. That's how it happens. But if it wasn't for the preparation of the software update, if it wasn't for being around people like this, then I wouldn't know how to have those self-talks. I would allow that voice on the inside to overpower what was right, the negative to overpower the positive. And there's a lot of science behind it too, because as people, our brain is wired to keep us safe. It's that part of the brain is wired to keep us out of harm's way and to keep us comfortable. So if we know that our mind by default is meant to keep us comfortable, meant to keep us out of harm's way, then we know we just have to overcome that number one objection, which is my mind is taking me here because this is how I'm wired as a human being, right? Ever since we were in caves being chased by saber-toothed tigers, right? We walk outside, you watch someone get eaten, oh crap. And after those thousands of years of our brain being rewired, we know stay away from danger.
Sure.
Well, it's uncomfortable to get up and be on camera. It's uncomfortable to get up in front of 1,000 people and speak. Absolutely. Even 10 people, it's uncomfortable. Yeah. It's uncomfortable to hold the phone, record it, put it out there, knowing that you're going to be judged by so many different people. And that part of the brain says, oh, come back into the cave, don't go out there, saber-toothed tiger. But if we know that that's going to happen, it's easier to overcome. And you also need to be part of a community that champion that get around you and say, good job, Gabe. That's the way to do it. Rose, awesome work. And you start to believe this belief. The last thing I'll say is this. If you want to change any limiting belief that we have as people, this isn't mine, this is someone from a mentor, so shout out to Nick Sarnicola. He said this, the way to shift he said, the reason we are who we are is because of our beliefs and our values. How do we shift our beliefs as humans? And that was a question that for myself for a long time, like, how do you shift a belief? And then he finally gave a teaching on it. He said, I want you to think of your beliefs like this. Think of your belief like a filing cabinet. You have a filing cabinet. And inside there you have folders. And every single time you're introduced to a new idea, a new association is made. So you open up that filing cabinet and you say, Rose, Gabe, and Steven, right? And now I just opened up a filing cabinet and I made a file for this relationship. But there's no context, there's no references in that file, so I don't know what to believe and what to think about this. And the first time I meet you guys, you're kind, you're polite, you're respectful. So I have a reference, I put it in that folder, I close the filing cabinet, and the next time I think of Rose and Steve, I open it up and say, oh, they're kind, good people. Second time I meet you guys, they're kind, respectful people. And before you know it, there's enough references in that file that establish a belief, then I don't even check it anymore. You're good, solid people. Yeah. And I have that file. The same is true for the opposite. Any negative experience, I open it up, bad, 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 bad. And now I've developed a belief about that situation. So how do we change our belief about money? How do we change our belief about opportunity, that this is the right thing to do? All we have to do is create more references. Open up the filing cabinet, stop looking at people who didn't do well, stop being around people who are talking negative, and start changing those references around you. Get around people that are doing what you want to do and create new references so your belief starts to change that this is the way to do it, this is the place to be, these are the people to be around, so that now your belief changes. Now that you believe you can, you take the action. And when you take the action, you get the result. The same thing is true about a car. All of us here had never driven a vehicle at one point in our life. And we had to open up that filing cabinet, as scared as we were, get behind that car and say, okay, this is it right here. And then we get on the freeway for the first time, same thing. But we developed a reference. I can drive. This is easier than I thought it was going to be. It's just gas, brake, turn the light, look over your shoulder. And before you know it, now we're driving with our knee right here, looking at our phone, we're doing this, right? But it didn't start off that way. We had to develop a belief system around it. The same thing goes for business. The same thing goes for life and relationships.
Yeah. No, and I
so
totally
good.
agree with
so
that.
Good. What I say, nothing but fire.
He literally hits a spot every time I when we were listening to the Nick Bear book, I'm like, is he talking about us? I'm like, you're talking about us.
And you can resonate with so many people out there.
Yeah, no, and I love, like, you know, how you just kind of hit everything to where people can really understand it. Because, you know, like I tell people, there's just so many different ways to evolve. But you have to like really resonate with a certain individual so that you can learn from there. Like the teacher shows up when the student's ready, right? So I really love that. So tell us a little bit about, you know, you are a high producing agent and team. What made you guys transition to Realty of America?
You don't know what you don't know in business, okay? And when I first got into the industry, I jumped into Coldwell Banker, and they were an amazing company. They did well because they trained me on contracts, they trained me on understanding the legal side of things. And so that developed a lot of confidence in me, was, okay, I understand the paperwork now. Now I just need to do the work that I can marry the two together. So I joined there only because it was the only opportunity that was presented. And then I was introduced to Century 21. And this was around the time where Compass was throwing out checks to everybody.
Yep.
And so they offered me a big check at that time. But I turned it down because I've never really been money motivated because of MLM. Most of the marketing did a great thing, and they said money's a byproduct of the value you bring to the marketplace. So I knew if I just brought enough value to the marketplace, the money would just show up eventually. And I didn't want the money, I wanted the value. So Century 21 came around and they said, here's the value that we're going to provide to you. We're going to give you unlimited video concessions. We're going to give you coaching from the CEO himself. We're going to give you 3 office spaces. We're going to create an environment where you can grow your business unlimited, and we're going to do it. We're going to charge you 10% on your office split plus a 7% franchise fee. And in my mind, I heard, dang, I got to keep 83% and you're going to give me all this? I'm like, so I flipped the positive. And so I sat there for, I was 2 years at Coldwell Banker, 9 months at an independent brokerage just between the transition over to Century 21. I made the move over there strictly for leadership. 21 and 22 were 2020 was my breakout year. When everyone was retracting, this is where I expanded. I put more money into marketing, more money into advertising. I think that year we did like 55 sites or something like that. 2021, I went over to 110 sites or 109 sites. 22, I did like 90 something sites, but both years were $1 million commission years. And then EXP came along and they were like, well, what are you getting for this $200,000 that you're paying to your brokerage every year? And no one had ever sat down with me and said, this is a side-by-side comparison. I'm like, well, I never thought like a business owner. I just thought like a grunt worker, because one thing that the franchise models do really, really well is they keep you distracted. Focus, just work, knock on doors, go to the happy hour, get your trophies, go home and go do it again.
Yeah.
But it never was hire an assistant, put them on W-2, how do you expand a team, never do that. They didn't want you to think bigger, because if you did, you outgrew their model. And that was okay. I'm not down talking that model, because there's a place for everyone in their seasons or career. But when the cloud-based model came around to me, it opened everything up. But again, I didn't know what I didn't know. So when I moved over to EXP, I didn't know what to ask, but I didn't know what to look for. And again, I learned a lot of leadership, a lot of recruiting, a lot of building there. But when the market shifted in 22 and the rates had increased and and production had dropped, I didn't know how to address my team and say, this is how we shift. Because although I've been in real estate for 12 years up to now, I hadn't been through a lot of market shifts. I had been through different market conditions, but not shifting the way that it had. So how do we adjust in this marketplace? They didn't have the answer. And I didn't know until I met Realty of America why they didn't have the answer. And 2 years went by, we built an amazing organization at EXP, but Realty of America landed in my lap. I was open to the opportunity. I had a conversation. I wasn't looking. I never felt like I was without at EXP. So just want to be clear about that. I never felt like I was without. But because I didn't know what I didn't know what I didn't know, when it presented itself, I'm like, oh crap, this is available. So I guess it's important for me to talk to you guys about this, is that never be so closed-minded that you end up losing an opportunity out there. And so the one thing I want you guys to understand is there's people will step over dollars to pick up pennies. And there's an acronym, and it's POOR. And most people aren't poor financially, they're poor mentally. And POOR stands for passing over opportunities regularly. If you have a poor mindset, you will miss 99% of the opportunities that are out there. Poor mindset can be you just not having an updated software. Poor mindset can be your big ego that you might have, a lot of pride that you carry. Poor can be show up in a lot of different ways in your life. But poor holds you back from having those opportunities. I was open, and I've always been open because I've never felt like I've always known it all. And the moment you do, that's where the fall starts. And again, I go back to biblical principles. Sure. This is, whether you're a believer in the Christian Bible or not, I'm not saying that you have to be, that's what I believe in. But if that book has been around this long, this relevant for this long, there might be some wisdom inside of it that you just might want to pay attention to, that might help you out in your regular everyday life. And it talks about, in the Word, it says in the Bible, that pride comes before the fall. It says the first will be last and the last will be first. It says if you want to lead, then be the first to serve. So I just live my life by those principles alone. Wow. I don't ever feel like I know too much. I don't ever feel like I'm too perfect. I'm always willing to ask for help. And because someone called me at Realty of America, who I outproduced by 4 or 5x, they called me. I never felt like I knew too much. He said, hey, Mark Demas and Eddie Garcia are going to be here. They want to talk to you personally. Can you come out? I could have easily said, bro, who are you to me? Sure. I outproduced you. You should be grateful I'm even answering your call. All these things could have happened. Yeah. Instead, I said, yes, I'll be there. What day and what time? Are they available? Not what matches my calendar. Because if I had that attitude, I wouldn't be here across the table from you two. Yeah. I had to humble myself. I had to be the type of servant-driven leader that I want to attract into my business. And so I showed up. I sat across the table from these amazing leaders. They painted this incredible vision. And here's the difference that made the difference. Both the president, the CEO, and the 7 anchor partners are in production building a business themselves. These aren't people that are practicing what they preach. They are preaching what they practice. Mm. And that's the difference right there. Wow. I said, I could be at any cloud-based company. I want to be under someone's leadership who is where I want to be, that is doing what I want to do, not something that they talked about years ago, but that are walking the talk right now, that are preaching what they're practicing. And I said, sign me up right now, I'm over here. And everyone thought I was crazy when I left EXP. Sure. 250% downline. Wow. $15,000. That's huge. $15,000 a month revenue share, 2.5 years of bleeding, sweating, putting money, energy, and attention to build this thing up. Just to walk away from it for this opportunity that didn't even have a website created. Strictly because of leadership. Wow. And that's where I'm here today, man. And if I wasn't here, in the last 7 months, if I didn't gamble on the leadership, if I didn't bet on the people who were leading me, we wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have amazing people like you. We wouldn't be, which in 7 months, we rebuilt it back over to 200 agents now. And all glory to God. My revenue share now crossed 5 figures. And it's like, I'm so glad that I didn't let the ego get in the way, that I didn't let those voices get in the way, that I followed my heart, I followed my instinct. I was humble enough to say yes, and I was humble enough to know I didn't know everything. I put myself in a position, and I get to now be on an amazing podcast with you two.
Let's go.
That is freaking incredible, man. So
I don't care what brokerage we'd be a part of. I still want you on the podcast, yes. But we're at home right now. Let's go, man. One thing that you did say is you never felt like you knew it all. And I think life has a funny way of humbling you when you do think you know it all. And a perfect example, I know we were talking about jiu-jitsu earlier. When I was in jiu-jitsu, when you first walk in, you don't know anything. Exactly. And then you start getting better, and then you tap someone, and then you start thinking you're better than you are. I'm really good. I could beat a lot of people until you go with someone that's just on another level. And it humbles me instantly. I'm not as good as I think I am. But then I start to get better, and I actually start to get as good as that guy, and I think I'm better than I am until I get to that next level. And I realize instantly I know nothing. It's a great reminder and life lesson that we never know everything.
If you're finding yourself getting tapped out, beat up often, it's probably because you do feel like you know everything.
Sure.
That might be it. It might be an indication of humble yourself a little bit. You're talking too fast. You're acting like you know too much, and life will pull you back in that way and say, humble yourself. You're not quite there yet. And a lot of us want more than we can carry. A lot of us want the black belt immediately in life. We want that black belt in financial. We want that black belt in our marriage, but we haven't gone through the phases yet. We haven't learned how to take down. We haven't learned how to sprawl. We haven't learned how to perform a chokehold and those kind of things. We haven't learned how to lead a team. We haven't learned how to lead ourselves. Yet you want to lead other people. You haven't been excellent with your $50,000 a year salary, yet you want a $100,000 salary. You haven't learned how to squat just a bar and learned how to position your legs and your hips, yet you want to put 45 plates on there because you want big glutes. You have to learn how to crawl before you walk. Walk before you run. And so what's the fastest, let me ask all of you a question, and then I want to ask you guys the same question. In jiu-jitsu, what's the hardest belt to get to? In jiu-jitsu, what's the hardest belt to have?
It's a white belt, man. And I know that because I've lived it and I've heard it before. And explain why the white belt, it's the easiest belt. It's really because just getting started. If you don't walk through that door, you will not achieve anything.
Yes.
It's not the black belt, it's getting that white belt and then showing up.
So you guys gotta show up every day. You gotta make sure you have a white belt mentality. You want the black belt eventually? Always have a white belt mentality that you can learn more. And if you do that in business, if you do that in marriage, if you do that in finances, if you do that with your physical health, you will always have more than enough. You'll always find a solution to be there. But the moment you act like a black belt mentality, you know it all and have it all, is where the moment life is gonna humble you, pull you back and say, you don't. So if you catch yourself constantly running into a wall, it could just be that you have that black belt mentality, you know everything, have everything, and life is trying to remind you, slow down. First go through blue, then go to purple, then go to here and build yourself back up first. If you want to have the glutes and you want to have the big muscles, first learn how to carry the weight. First press the 5 pounds, go there. I don't care if it's humbling. I don't care if people are walking around at the gym looking at you like, you do that 5-pound dumbbell. That's okay. Don't compare your chapter 5 to someone else's chapter 50. Don't compare your chapter 1 to my chapter 12. Like, we're all walking a different life and it's okay. But if you never feel like it's okay, it might be because you're running the wrong environment. Get around an environment of people that champion that mindset, that champion that, and make you feel okay. And when you're in a place where like, I can be myself. I can show up here not being perfect. I can act like it's okay, and the microphones and this and that. It's okay. You feel good and you feel at home. Find that place, and that's where the growth will take place.
Yeah, no, that actually reminds me because, we're here in Southern California at headquarters, and our agent Leticia, she has been in the industry for a while. She's doing amazing, and she's like, man, I was just telling my husband on the way here, I feel so small compared to you guys. And I said, what? And she's like, yeah. And I said, there's no one you need to compare yourself to except for who you were last year. There's so many of us that is like in comparison mode. And sorry to throw you in too, but he's only been in the business for 4 years, and then he tries to compare himself to everything that I know. Yeah. And I have to remind him, like, I've been doing this since I was a little girl. My mom was a realtor. Like, you cannot compare me to you. And that's what a lot of people do. Like, social media portrays so much more that people don't realize we're all at different levels. And if you start comparing yourself to other people, that's where you're going to fail on yourself, because you're not betting on yourself. And that's one thing I've learned throughout all these years of multi-level marketing, mortgage, real estate, even being in a tech company, is I always thought I wasn't enough. Like, I wasn't good enough to work with this VP to help them with their home. I was scared that people would know more than me. But then when I worked in these different fields, especially in tech, I was in meetings as a project manager with like directors and VPs, and I'm like, they're just normal ass people. And so then I started gaining all these confidences, like, oh, well, if I went back to real estate and I had this person in front of me, I wouldn't be so intimidated because they don't know real estate like I do. Right? And so you just have to like really give yourself a little bit more, I don't know, not like confidence, but like, I guess, grace, because you, as long as you know a little bit more than someone, you can teach someone else. And that's the biggest thing for me, and this is why we love all the people that we've surrounded ourselves with thus far is like each one teach one. You know, you just need to learn from somebody and then pass that
Where'd you get that from?
over.
By Silas?
No, it was a Denzel Washington.
Denzel
on a
It was a movie.
podcast.
Yeah.
No, it
Oh
wasn't.
no,
podcast.
yeah.
It was a
one of-
YouTube.
Sure.
It's a
each one
YouTube
teach
video.
one.
We
You
listen
might
to
have been
motivational
speaking
videos.
to, yeah, a graduating class.
So like,
Each
love
one
that.
teach one.
I've been fortunate enough that when I started mortgage, I think I was like 20. My manager gave me a book, Think and Grow Rich, and ever since then I've been like immersed in personal development. I don't watch TV that much. I don't listen to the radio. I don't read novels. I read personal development books. And then since COVID, I've been into like spiritual stuff. Like I have a hard time reading business books now because I'm in a different phase where I'm learning about meditation, self-improvement, just all the spiritual aspect of my mindset, which I feel like you have to be in different phases in your life to be able to take that in. Because when I first got Think and Grow Rich, I was like, cool, but And then I read it again a couple of years later, and I'm like, oh, wow. Mm-hmm. And then I read it again. And so I make it a point to read it every now and then because you pick up different nuggets when you're ready for it. Yeah. And so, I feel like people need to like really pick up another book that they tried a different time to see if it resonates on it, because they're in a different level, right? But, just really looking at yourself from the inside out, like what can I do to just be better 2% today, not 100%, and like they say, when you're training for a marathon, you don't go run 5 miles in one day. You run, jog, you run and jog, then you run a mile, then you run 2 miles, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I think people need to do in our industry. It's like, don't just go all in on everything as far as like trying to do different things or compare yourself to people who've been here for 10 years. Like do the little things that you can do first, and then you get stronger, just like with weight training, right? Like with squatting, you just kind of keep taking those 2% every day to do compound effect. And then you look back 5 years from now, you're like, wow, look at all this stuff that I did.
I think that the principle there would be fall in love with the journey.
Oh yeah.
Fall in love with the journey. Like and Kobe Bryant was really good at that. He said that most people always looked at the trophy and the like that accolade as like the pinnacle of their career. And there was, I think it was Armstrong, whoever went to the moon, right? And they said that they both went up there, both came back down, and one of the astronauts went into depression and committed suicide. Oh wow! Because his life was all built around going to the moon. Yeah. And when he went to the moon and came back, he's like, what's next? Yeah. And he missed the true gold in his life. And the gold was the hustle. It was the journey. It was being at NASA, going under the water, putting on the suit, talking to the scientists. Mm-hmm. If that would have been the highlight of his life, the cherry on top would have been, I went to the moon. He reversed it. It was, the cherry was just the journey. But the main cake, the main thing was me going to the moon, and that was the big hurrah. But once that was taken away, who am I now? Yeah. And so I want all of you out there to remember this principle, is that if you fall in love with the journey and that ends up being the cake, and the cherry on top is the dollar, the cherry on top is you standing on stage, the cherry on top is you having the big house, then you'll always be fulfilled. You'll always feel like you're at the right place at the right time. It's when you put the end goal first as the main thing is when you feel lost and when the worth isn't there. Yeah. And you build your confidence through going through these things. How do you get more confident in anything? It's just repetition, doing the work. So you're not confident in public speaking, speak more. You're not confident in closing, go close more. You're not confident in cold call more. Do those things. You're not confident in driving like we were at one point in our lives. Mm-hmm, yeah. Get behind the wheel and start driving, and that's the way that you're going to do it. And eventually you'll be here hosting an amazing podcast and having
you know what the hardest thing is too? Is to just get started.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? And so me looking back, I never thought I would be doing something like this. Camera shy, I was in construction and that was fine with me.
You were camera shy?
Yeah. Camera shy, it's like I didn't even have a MySpace when MySpace was popping off. I was a late bloomer to Instagram and Facebook because I didn't.
I don't think he had a cell phone until he was like late 20s.
No, okay, so just kind of a shy guy, right? But And she developed a little bit sooner than I did. We've been together since she was 12, I was 13. We had her first kid at 15, on her 15th birthday. She went to labor. We didn't even have a car. I mean, we didn't have a license to drive to the hospital. Her sister had to pick us up to give us a ride to the hospital. That was our first child, right? She got into multi-level marketing early and sales early and read Think and Grow Rich early. I didn't start reading till later, but what it was is being around the right people. The right person for me was Rose, because my mantra as a child was Bay Area hip hop was popping off back then. Like, it was just fire, and that's just all I listened to. And I didn't have the father figure. My mom was young; she wasn't there as much as.
So that was your mentor. That was your life. That was your.
And I tell my son that too. Not that he listens to that, but I just to tell him my side of the story. That's all I ever listened to. That was my affirmation, and it took I think the first time I was like looking at Rose after a while. I was like, give me a good book to read. And she said, why don't you, maybe she recommended The Slight Edge, but I do remember The Slight Edge. And it was the first time reading something or hearing something that you can do something. And you don't have to do everything to be successful. You just have to do little steps over time. Over time, the compound effect takes place. That was the first time I heard something different. You know, and now fast forward today, we were talking about driving up here. You know, we were listening to a little bit of music to get the kids going a little bit, drop them off, and then we put in an audiobook. You know, it's like I want to fill my brain with positive affirmation now. You know, and I will still listen to hip hop, but it's chosen what I listen to. It's kind of like when I hit a PR. If I'm going to hit a PR in the gym, I might throw on something hard. Right? But for the most part, I want to listen to something like this, and that's why podcasts are so powerful now. Is because there's a thirst for knowledge out there. There's a thirst to hear other people do something they want to do. And it's out there now. We just got to find it. And another thing is when you learn it, or as you're learning it, give back each one, teach one, bring people up. When you shoot your first video, going back to me being camera shy, seeing Rose being scared to do it with a pregnant belly and still do it. Wow. I still didn't see the vision 100%, but then I started like going with her, videotaping her. And thinking, man, she's talking to this business owner right here outside of their store with people walking. I can never do that. And she's doing it, stumbling over her words, tripping over again, restarting it, but doing it over and over and over again.
Freaking incredible.
I have to do it. It's my turn now. I got my license.
Yeah, he used to like.
I gotta do it. I have no choice.
He used to be like, here, you do it. There's people walking. And now he's like, oh, let me do it.
Everybody has their growths. I remember putting up the green screen and reading a script. And I said, I can't do this. I cannot do this. How did she do that? And I used to give her pointers like, looks like you're reading. Why don't you?
He used to make fun of me. Like,
but I didn't know.
And then he so much.
And then he goes in there and all of a sudden he's like, but looking back at it, isn't that such a beautiful memory that you hold on to now? Like it's going through that journey.
The pathway, the journey.
The journey of building it up and looking back, I'm so glad I took my shot. I'm so glad I went for it. I'm so glad I said yes. I'm so glad I put myself out there. And it builds the character, it fills the spirit. Like I earned it. I arrived through the hard work, through the perseverance. And that's really what I want people to lean into. I think the main message for today is lean into that. Like in your mess, there's a message. Yep. Like you need to lean into that. A lot of people that I see that I follow on social media, they want to be that hoorah, they want to be that person, I did it, I succeeded, look at me, cool photos, etc. But how are you going to have a testimony without a test? You got to pass the test first, ladies and gentlemen. You got to go out there with the pregnant belly or not. You got to go out there and watch and support your wife and being like, dang, man, like I wish it looks easy, but you get back, you got to go through those trials and tribulations in order to be that other person on the other side. And the person that you're waiting on, the person that you're banking on is on the other side of that discomfort, is on the other side of that pain. And you will find a new version of yourself every single time you decide to level up. And it is the greatest joy, one of the greatest joys you will ever experience is meeting the new version of yourself every single chapter.
I feel like a new version of myself today.
Just being here with you.
Yesterday, honestly, just being around the right people is the big takeaway. Where are you at today in your life? How does business look for you?
It's I want my business to be, so I do a lot different. I want my business to be one thing. I wanted my business to be supportive of Gabe. So I went from having splits and agents and everything to just hiring staff who support my vision. Because I want that to be it. I went through the whole highs and lows of look at me, 15 agents on my team and splits and blah, blah, blah. I went through the whole almost getting a TV show with HGTV. I went through the whole thing, man. And now I just want my business to operate the way I want it to run in terms of sales. I want to help my clients at a very high level. I want to help my buyers at a very high level. And I want to be in full control. And the only way I can do that is by having staff on paper, number one. Number two, I want to step into this leadership role now that God's put in front of me. He gave me this vision. And for a long time, like you were saying, doubting yourself on camera, I doubted myself. Who am I to inspire? Who am I to speak? Who am I to do that? I didn't have the voice. I spoke with ums and ahs. I didn't know about anything about pregnant pauses and tonality. I knew nothing about effective communication. I studied for 8 years. I built myself up. And finally, when the opportunity presented itself, I made the leap and the jump. And now I see the vision opening up. I see the pathway being created. The doubt's still there. But I want to step into this leadership role where now I develop leaders. I developed solo agents. I developed team leaders who developed agents. Now I want to develop leaders who develop leaders. That's the point in career that I'm in right now. Each one teach one.
Yeah.
And are you able to do that with the new brokerage you're at?
Oh my God.
How do you feel? How's your experience been?
It's the only way because the opportunity is there. There's people who are doing it. And the experience, Realty of America, the word's thrown around too loosely. It's a platform. And it is. I understand. It's a place for me to build my business. But it's the people that make the biggest difference in it. Yeah. And that's the one thing I got to encourage you guys to do is find people who are doing what you want to do at a high level. Mark Demas is the only guy that I know that's a president of a nationwide company who has sold 600 homes year to date in 2025, who sold 3,200 homes in 2022. That's the president of Realty of America. Wow. The CEO of Realty of America had an independent brokerage of 600 agents with 7 ancillary services coming from it, who is a deca millionaire multiple times over, who is the CEO. You have the 7 anchor partners across the country. We're sitting in a Class A building with a 150 agent team with Claudia, Max, and Mo, who own their own escrow company, lending company, who are actively doing it today. So it wasn't so much about the company and this, and but it's the people that made the opportunity possible, that opened up my vision, and I felt like I could step into this new position because it was finally people who are where I want to be that have shown it, and it made me feel comfortable enough to take the leap. So if you're in a place where you feel good, you're comfortable, that's where I would say start questioning yourself. If things are just starting to click and aren't aligning, that's where I say you start to question yourself. Reach out to them, click the link down below, schedule the call, find out why so many top producers, so many team leaders, so many influencers or leaders, why we've grown from 0 to 7 in 7 months to 2,200 agents, 17 states. Again, judge the tree by its fruits. There's a reason so many big producers are coming here. And that's your opportunity to find out why. Click the link, schedule the call, send them an email, send them a DM right now, talk to Rose and Steve and say, what is it you guys are doing over there with your leadership? I want to be part of it. I want to create my own voice. How do I do it?
I want to keep going, man. Let's do round 2. That was so good, right? That was so good. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course, bro. It's been
a pleasure on our end, too, to get to know you and to see you in action, man. You don't just speak it, you live it, you take action. That's the white belt. You got to walk through the door, take action to get to where you are. And all of us, you two included, could get to all these levels, but you gotta open the door. You gotta get started. Can we have you back on the podcast?
Bro, let's go, man. Round 2, baby.
I know, man. I know.
It was a lot of fun today.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We can truly feel your heart and your purpose.
Yeah.
So thank you, and I'm sure everybody listening feels it as well. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you found some value in being with us with Gabe. If you want more information about Realty of America, make sure to schedule an appointment with us. We have our Calendly link below. All right, we'll see you guys
on the
later.
next episode.
Bye.